in the scary hours of the draft season, officially 8 days away, 7 days away, whatever it is. And we're gonna recap a lot. There's I don't know. Let's just. You said you want to talk about the Jets, so go ahead.
Yes.
You said that you said that this is a team that is the most interesting.
Well, yeah, one of the teams that I think is most interesting in the draft as far as like what they'll do is the Jets at 10. So the reason that I say this is it almost feels like they have two routes that they could go here, and honestly, like I don't know if you can get mad at either one. And by that I mean taking um, Brock Bowers at 10 or taking an offensive lineman at 10. Um, I think me personally, I would end up taking the offensive lineman just because I think you got to kind of start in the trenches. And I know that the Jets made a bunch of moves this offseason. They signed Tyron Smith to a 1-year deal. They traded for Morgan Moses, and they had some bits and pieces last year along that O line that were all right. So, I think just from a longevity standpoint, I think shoring up your offensive line is probably the way to go, which is what I would do. But it's always interesting to me to think about like you put Brock Bowers in this offense and say you end up getting a healthy Mike Williams. You get Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, and Brock Bowers, and then you have Breece Hall in the backfield. And then if Aaron Rodgers is good and healthy, then that could be a pretty scary group of guys. But then at that point, you have to rely on your offensive line staying healthy throughout the entire year. And realistically, with the Jets' luck, that doesn't feel like something that has been happening or is something that I can see happening moving forward. But then on the opposite side of this, you have Mike Williams, who you went and signed in free agency, and that guy can't stay healthy. So realistically, you're pretty much just left with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. And now Garrett Wilson's a definite number one. I'm sure you agree with that. But it just feels like it could go completely either direction with this Jets pick. And I'm just really interested to see like how they make the decision and kind of I don't know if we'll end up ever seeing this, but like what their thought process is. If it's like, oh, let's get an O lineman, shore this thing up on the offensive line for the future, or get a really fun, really great tight end that will probably be around for a while too. And that feeds more into the win now thing as far as Brock Bowers coming in right away and probably making an immediate impact, as opposed to drafting an offensive lineman and having to have him sit in a case where their O line does stay healthy. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the Jets. I think it'll be interesting to see where they pick or who they pick.
So there's multiple things I'll back off of. First off, if there's one thing that we've learned over the last 15 years or however long Aaron Rodgers' career has been, and especially over the last 5, is he absolutely hates rookie pass catchers, like hard. So I don't think it matters how talented Brock Bowers is, like literally at all. I don't think that is going to be something that is desired in a way by Aaron Rodgers. Or this team, quite frankly. We literally watched Aaron Rodgers play less than 10 minutes last season, and every single time that he dropped back in the pocket, there were literally people in his lap. So if they don't go and take a tackle with this pick, which whatever, if people think that he's going to sit or play or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Morgan Moses is 175 years old. I'm sure that if you take a tackle at number 10 that he's an immediate upgrade over Morgan Moses. And then on top of that, if Tyron Smith goes down or gets hurt, you have insurance, which he hasn't played a full season in a long time. You have insurance at that position instead of just like kind of dart throwing it. As of everything else, what we have seen is I think Aaron Rodgers is an extremely talented quarterback, and I think having Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson and pieces around him is more than enough. I think what's most important is that defense playing at the level that it was playing at previously and having a secure offensive line. And if you have a secure offensive line and that defense plays the level that it has been the past 2 seasons, I think that you can be taken like extremely serious to as a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what you just said is why I would take an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I think I would rely on Aaron Rodgers to figure this thing out with the guys that he has in the building, as far as like the skill player guys, as opposed to relying on the Jets' historically unhealthy offensive line. So I would take an offensive lineman, but it's also kind of fun just to think about if you do add another like good skill position player to this offense and to that wide receiver tight end room, like who knows what could happen. And even though Rodgers doesn't have that good of a history with the rookie pass catchers, I don't know if it's fair to put like Brock Bowers necessarily in that fit, because when's the last time that they've really taken a guy that's the level of Brock Bowers caliber as far as offensive, like wide receiver, tight end goes?
I don't know. And I think a fair criticism, honestly, to make too is like, are we going to really trust Nathaniel Hackett to utilize a weapon like Brock Bowers the exact way that he's going to? I would honestly question that. I'd be like, I don't really trust that guy. If anything, I think that it might stunt his growth as a player playing in that sort of system.
I think the Nathaniel Hackett thing is, I feel like that only comes into play when Rodgers isn't there, because when we've seen Nathaniel Hackett with Rodgers, it's been good. But when we've seen Nathaniel Hackett on its own, it's been bad. But obviously, I think the more important thing of the two is obviously Aaron Rodgers, and God forbid something happens again to him and they have to play Tyrod Taylor, then all bets are off, and who knows what the hell this offense is going to look like, even with a good offensive line or Brock Bowers. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it matters for Aaron Rodgers to be healthy and to be in this offense as to how far this team will go. But for the longevity's sake, it's probably smarter to take an offensive lineman. And I think Brock Bowers is probably going to be a really good NFL player for a while too. But I don't think having that guy at tight end is necessarily as important as having a milestone piece on your offensive line.
I mean, I would completely agree with that.
We lost him. We lost you. You'd
I think
completely agree with that if
I think if they don't do that, they just like aren't serious about winning football games this upcoming season. They're in full like win now mode. Like I don't know if like adding another piece does much for them for like that win now mentality. Um I guess the most interesting team that I have written down, because when you said that you'd talk about the Jets, I just like found a team. I feel like it's completely low hanging fruit in a way, but is the Minnesota Vikings. They traded up into the first round for the Texans' first overall pick at 23 to use as ammo to trade up for a quarterback. There's really nothing. There's no secrets there. I
yeah,
guess
it's pretty set in stone that they're taking a quarterback here.
I guess what my if the big three go 1, 2, 3, I think that their plan is completely out the window. I don't foresee them being the team to be like, okay, now that the third quarterback has gone off the board, now let's trade the house for 4 or 5, pick 4 or 5, so we can go get JJ McCarthy. I don't think that they're going to be that team that does it. I don't think any team is going to trade up and get JJ McCarthy. So I think that is going to be, it's like a domino effect at that point. They're
I
pretty much
agree.
they're pretty much banking on the fact of the Patriots trading back or taking like Joe Alt. So if they do that, then they're going to be able to trade up and get that third quarterback, which if it's Drake May or Jaden Daniels, I think that they're happy with either or. But then if they don't get that quarterback, do they go and take JJ McCarthy at like 11 or 23 or whatever they end up doing? And then at that point, like, are they going to be extremely upset? Because then you have to think about like, well, Justin Jefferson probably won't sign a long-term contract. We missed out on the opportunity to go up and get a quarterback, which that was our plan. So I just think that that's like a big sliding glass doors moment for the Vikings is they pretty much need something to go exactly their way. Or I think what we do see is a pre-draft trade getting the Patriots at number 3. And if not, I'm starting to really question if the move that they made to acquire that number 23 pick was the right one to go and get that quarterback.
I mean, I think similar to you in this aspect. I think that they don't acquire that pick for no reason. Um, all signs are pointing to them getting a quarterback. I don't think that I am having a very hard time just taking the straight hater out of me as far as JJ McCarthy goes, because I don't understand why, if you're the Minnesota Vikings at 11, unless you think the New England Patriots or maybe the Giants, because I've been seeing smoke about the Giants liking McCarthy. I don't understand why you would leave your spot at 11 to go up and get him if you don't think one of those two teams are going to take him. Because I just going through this list, I mean, obviously trades can happen, and I don't know. I think the Raiders are probably going to take an offensive tackle. I think the Broncos are probably not going to take a quarterback, but like I don't we don't know 100% what's going on in these discussions, but
I
if
think the
you
first
are
thing that,
Vikings at 11, I don't, unless you think the Patriots or the Giants are going to take them, like why would you trade up?
but like even at that point, like if the Patriots take JJ McCarthy, then you have your pick at the guys that you actually wanted. I don't think JJ McCarthy goes in the top 3. I think automatically the team that we can pretty much completely rule out is the Broncos. The Broncos just
Yeah,
flat don't have assets and they don't have a team. It makes no sense for them to depreciate, sell off more assets to get the 4th quarterback on the board. And
I
then
agree. I'm just bringing them up because they are a team that needs a quarterback at this point. And
and then
who knows, teams get desperate.
And then on top of that, I think the Vegas Raiders are in a situation where they only want Jaden Daniels. And if they're not
Okay.
able to get Jaden Daniels in the first round, they're just going to be like, you know what? Screw it. We'll take a shot at a quarterback later on. We're going to
Right.
get a quality player in the first round. So what I'm doing is eliminating teams. So
Right. I
the
agree. I agree
Broncos.
with you.
So let's eliminate the Broncos and the Raiders of trading up. We're not going to see that happen.
I
And
know
then
those were just the two teams that were the closest to this Minnesota pick. That there was rumors around them taking a quarterback. They need a quarterback.
no, I know. We're
You
putting
know
a
what I'm
rest
trying to
to
get at.
the
Yes,
rest to the
yes,
rumors. And then lastly, 6 with the Giants, there is absolutely zero chance that the Giants are taking a quarterback. What they're trying to do is letting everybody know that that pick's available for trade, trying to create smoke and being like, "Oh yeah, we really like JJ McCarthy." Respectfully, if Brian Dayball and the GM, I don't know his name, if they take JJ McCarthy at 6, they're fired because they need to win this season. If they don't win this season, like if they don't win 7 games this season with Daniel Jones, they're getting fired. So like they're not in a situation where they can be like, "Oh, like let's take a shot at the QB." Like they're going to be bad regardless. So I don't think that the Giants are taking him either. I think that there is a clear team here and there's only one with the assets and that set themselves up to do it pre-draft, and that's just the Vikings. And then I'm just strictly saying quarterback. Like, I
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
there's other teams that could trade for other positional needs, but just quarterback right now, I
yeah.
just think it's the Vikings. Like, I don't think that JJ McCarthy is as coveted as advertised.
Are we are we in on the Patriots not taking a quarterback? Like, is that where we're planting our flag, or where? What do you think? Because I don't know. I just keep seeing these mock drafts come out and them taking a quarterback, which is really throwing me off because it just doesn't make that much sense in my head.
I mean, at the end of the day, I look back to what happened last year was every single if you look at everybody's mock drafts last year, everybody had
True.
Bryce Young and Will
CJ
Levis.
Stroud and
Not even
Will.
CJ. If you remember back to last draft cycle and what everybody was talking about, bro, people had CJ Stroud dropping to 11 to the Raiders. Like, he was that guy. He seemed like the odd man out in that situation. Him and Anthony Richardson. People were like, "Oh, I just like don't see how Anthony Richardson can go in the top 10." And it turns out Will Levis was the guy that slipped fully out of the first round. So, I just think it's one of those situations where every single mock drafter could have something, but that doesn't mean that it's right, obviously.
Yeah.
I personally feel as if, like, we talked about it last week. The Patriots putting themselves on a timeline as a first-time coach and a first-time GM with the third quarterback on the board, and you're still going to be bad. I just don't really think it does much for you at this point. So I'm personally planting my flag on the Patriots taking either, if they stay put in this spot, they're going to take Joe Alt, and if not, they're going to trade back. I don't think that there's any other scenario that comes up. I just really don't. I don't care who's on the board at 3 at quarterback. I just don't think that they're in the market for one.
The only thing that comes to mind with that is like the Jaguars and the Jaguars when they had Urban Meyer. Isn't that the same year that they took Trevor Lawrence? So they had a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback in the same year. Obviously was bad, but you still had a guy in Trevor Lawrence where you're like, okay, we feel really good about this guy, but the coaching and whatnot that we had around him was just dog shit. So now we just have to go out and find a new coach rather than go out and try and figure out a quarterback. That's the only thing that kind of is lingering in the back of my head with this Patriots team.
That's completely fine. And I think that we can, like I said, we can sit here and say a lot, but the Jags picked at the top of the draft like 3 years straight. They took Trayvon
Yeah.
Walker, an edge rusher. Then they took the quarterback. Like, the teams that we keep talking about, like when people are like, "Oh, like look at the Jaguars, look at the Texans," like they were flat rebuild mode, bad for many years, and picked at the top 5 picks for like 3+ seasons. And then once they got to a certain point where they felt that the roster was in a decent spot and they really liked the guy, then they did it. I think if the Patriots were in a position where they were like all in on somebody, then it would be just like a complete, like if they had the number one overall pick is what I'm getting at. If you had the
Okay.
number one overall pick and you were like, "Oh shit, like we're all in on this dude," but they just don't have that. Like, so I don't foresee that being the case. Like, there was zero, like that draft where the Jaguars took Trevor Lawrence, there was zero buzz of like anybody else being as good as Trevor Lawrence. Like, that whole college season, the whole
Yeah.
draft
He was
process, everybody was
solidified
like, he was
number
number
one guy.
one,
Yeah. So
undoubtedly.
okay, so it's comparable more to if it was Caleb Williams than if it was Drake May or
Yeah. Yeah. If
JJ
you were
McCarthy.
if you were getting the number one guy, then yeah, like I'm all in for that. Like, fuck yeah, like
But
take the number
what if
one
Drake May
quarterback
is
off the
your
board.
number one guy if you're New England?
He's not.
But
He's not.
we don't know that.
I'm letting you know that there is not one board in a quarterback needy team that does not have Caleb Williams number one. Just they
Right,
they
but
just don't.
I get that, and I agree with you there, but the more so what I meant is like, hey, we freaking love Drake May, and we know that we're not gonna get Caleb Williams, but we don't think that gap is that big, and we really like him. Like, that's kinda what I'm thinking too.
And that's completely fine to feel that way, but then you have to look at yourselves in the mirror and be like, do we have a good offensive line to protect him? No. Since we don't have that good offensive line, do we have the weapons to compensate for him to have a decent season? No. So we have two no's on both of those like questions. And I think that's the answer that we get where it's like it does not make sense for them to take a quarterback. At least I don't think so. Like if
I
somebody else
I
feels
I
that
don't
way,
either.
like
I think it's
fine.
just the like there's always the part of me that is in the like that goes back to, oh, we have a chance to get a phenomenal what we think is going to be a phenomenal quarterback. And then you pass this up and say you're just as bad, and then you're stuck in a spot where, oh, well, we still don't have the quarterback, still don't have the quarterback. I don't know. It just feels like the quarterback is the hardest part to figure out long term sometimes rather than
Exactly. So why
to
take the
fill it.
third guy? Why take the third guy
Well,
on the board then?
well, that goes back to my point of you're not getting Caleb Williams, but you think Drake May is right there, and you don't think that the gap is that big.
I think that there is a
I'm being
very
hyper specific here and playing devil's advocate. So
I know, but I just think that like throughout the course of this is like I think everybody is kind of, and it could be first off getting the quarterback right is like dead a 50-50 shot. He's either going to be good or going to completely suck. So I don't think that there are the public values taking a quarterback in those top 3 picks way more than what NFL teams do. Because if you look over the course of time, that's not what happens. So I think that like the public feels that way. Like, well, why wouldn't you go get a quarterback? Like, you need a quarterback. It's like, well, are we gonna win? I think it would be generous to sit here and say that the Patriots are gonna win more than 7 games next season. So like, what's the purpose of taking a quarterback? Like, there's really not.
I mean, my only rebuttal to that is you feel like you feel like you can supplement those pieces around him moving forward easier than you can find a supplemental quarterback, if
I
that makes
guess
sense.
I guess that you can't really know you can't have a true evaluation of what you have in the building unless if you have some sort of foundation around your guy. And if the I guess what I'm saying, if the Patriots do take a quarterback, I think that's a brutal misrepresentation of where they think that they're at in this process, because it,
Okay.
it seems almost like irresponsible to do that at this point, because it's like, hey guys, like I think they can sit around and think the same things that like we do and be like, hey, like it probably doesn't make all that much sense for us to do this right now. Let's trade back, get assets, get some good players in the building, because we're going to be able to get somebody at 11. We're going to be able to get somebody at 23. We're going to be able to get somebody at 34. So we have 3 picks in the top 35. Like, that's a pretty damn good situation to be in for a roster that needs to get rebuilt.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm playing devil's advocate here just because I know that teams from what we've seen will stretch and take a quarterback earlier than need be sometimes.
Is it though? Have we seen
I
that
mean,
really?
yeah, the Jets literally just did it with Zach Wilson.
But the Jets had the 2 pick. Like they genuinely sat there and were like, okay, we have the number 2 pick. Like, this is our guy, blah, 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 whatever. Like, could they have traded out of that? But no, they didn't. The team that I think to kind of hyper focus on in a situation like this is what the 49ers did at 3. The 49ers mortgaged the future to get to 3, to take Trey Lance, who played 0 college football, and then he is on his second team and has played in like 3 games. And he was the number 3 pick.
But the Patriots have the 3rd pick. It's not like they traded up to get there.
Yeah, I get that. But also look at where the 49ers were in the players that they had in their building compared to what the Patriots have in theirs.
I don't think that that's a great comparison. I think the Jets comparison is more in alignment with what I'm saying.
But the Jets knew that they had to take a shot at quarterback. They haven't had a quarterback in the building forever. What I'm saying about the Patriots is they need a flat rebuild.
The Patriots haven't had a quarterback since Tom Brady, though.
But that's why they need to rebuild. They've never had a proper rebuild.
Fair.
Like
No,
ever.
I don't disagree with you there. I'm not disagreeing with you with the flat rebuild. I'm just saying that I think teams stretch and take a quarterback earlier than they need.
Like
I think that's happened before, for sure.
Like we look back at what the Jets did 2017, they had the 6th overall pick. They take Jamal Adams. 2018, they had the 3rd overall pick. They take Sam Darnold. In 2019, they have the 3rd overall pick. They take Quentin Williams.
Right. So
in 2020,
they had
in 2020, they had the 11th pick. They take Mekhi Becton. In 2021, they have the 2 pick, and they have 2 first-round picks. They take Zach Wilson, and then they take a tackle in Elijah Vera Tucker, who they thought was going to be really good. In 2022, they had 3 first-round picks where they take Sauce Garrett Wilson and Jermaine Johnson. Like, I think what I went back to originally at what I said when I was trying to compare when people were comparing the Texans to the Patriots, you have to realize that the Patriots have 0 draft capital. They have 0 assets. They have older players on defense. Like this isn't a team where like they're in a situation where it's like when they took Zach Wilson, if the Patriots had 2 first-round picks and we're like, we're going to take a quarterback at 3 and then a tackle at 11, I'd be like, okay, that sounds great. Like at least you're giving your guy an opportunity you're getting 2 premier positions but they don't have that situation is what I'm getting at. That's not the reality right now. I think right now, I'll eat my words. If the Patriots trade back with the Vikings to 11 and 23 and take not Zach Wilson, take JJ McCarthy and then a corner, I mean, not a corner, a left tackle
offensive lineman
or a wide receiver at 23, I'd be like, you know what? Like, I don't hate that because you traded back, gained assets, another first-round pick for next year, took a shot at a quarterback, not in the top 3, and you got a wide receiver late or tackle late. So I just think it's all relative. Like you are in a situation now where you can get more assets and take those chances like these other teams have. Because I think it's easy to sit back and be like, well, the Zach Wilson thing didn't work. Well, they also had 4 picks in the top 40 is what I'm seeing right now in that draft. So like they had a lot of shots at the dartboard and they picked in the top 5 for the previous 4 seasons. So the Patriots are not doing that. Like, you know what I mean? Like last year they got Christian Gonzalez. I know people really like him, but he played 3 games. We have no clue what he's going to be at the end of the day. He showed good flashes for the first couple games, but like he might suck. We have no idea yet. There's no real way to evaluate him. So I think that like getting guys taking more shots at the board for the Patriots will be more beneficial for them rather than just putting all their eggs in one basket with one guy.
I guess what I wasn't taking into account was the total amount of draft capital that the Patriots have for this draft and like kind of what their draft capital situation moving forward is.
Yeah, and listen, that's why it's good for you to have a statement like that. Like for you to be like, well, look at what like Zach Wilson did. It was like, okay, yeah, like let's look at it. They took Zach Wilson, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Elijah Moore. And they took Michael Carter, like all in the top. But then the year before, they took a tackle in the top 15. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to set your guys up for success. And I think that the Patriots not having a solid offensive line is like the first issue that they need to address before they could be like, okay, let's start bringing in like young offensive talent. Because like I said, it's very easy to sit here and be like, well, this, that, and the third. What is the way teams are dominant and play deep into the playoffs is if they have a good offensive line and a good defense, regardless of quarterback play. We saw the list of quarterbacks that were in the playoffs the last 2 seasons. If you have a good offensive line and a good defense, you are in the conversation of figuring it out. You might not win a Super Bowl every single year because you don't have Patrick Mahomes, but like you are at least in the mix to win those games.
In agreement with that.
Um,
I'm
so
looking
yeah,
here. They have 1 first, 1 second, 1 third, 1 fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picks. Dude, that 6th round pick from Jacksonville could be the one for Mac Jones. Could be the one that
it could
swings
be.
it.
They might get Michael Pratt from Tulane and they might be in serious business. I got to go piss really bad. I'll be right back. And then let's do this mock.
Agreed.
We're
J.K.
back.
Dobbins just signed with the
So
Chargers.
interesting. Such
Yeah.
an interesting move by them, but
They're just taking the Ravens running backs.
like quite literally. Like, am I like? Do you feel like I'm off on what I'm saying with about like the Patriots and shit like that, or do you think that I'm just like dead wrong?
No, I certainly think there is validity to it. I just think it's hard sometimes if you see a guy that you really like, a quarterback, to not want to take him. Like the thing that makes the most sense for the Patriots is just getting as many good collectively as many good players in the building, but I think it makes things sometimes easier when one of those good collective players that you have in the building is a quarterback.
Maybe, or you can literally sit there and be in a really bad spot. And like you said, like the Trevor Lawrence example is a great example, but they also had a lot of picks at the Apple, and they also had like a top pick for when he got backs or when they went 1-16.
So do you think that ultimately they just need to
It's all relative.
just right? So you think the smartest thing was them trading this third pick and not necessarily taking Joe Alt?
I
Because
would like to see.
say they take Joe Alt, great. Say they trade that and end up with um like moving back and still getting an offensive tackle and then picking up another early second round pick and then
Let's just do it right
getting
now.
Penix. Like, what do you
Let's just do it right
like? Do you
now.
think
Let's do
how
it
many rounds
literally
are we
right
doing?
now. Just one, just the first.
Okay.
All 7. All right, so the
All
Bears on the
7
clock.
rounds.
I think the Bears are on the clock. I think we're in unison that the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams. Correct.
Yes.
Number 2.
I think we got to go with Mr. Jaden Daniels.
Right with you. All right, so like right here, let's make a trade.
Let's trade back. I mean, I think this is the Vikings.
Like, are you sitting here and telling me like, all right, let's throw Detroit's 129 in there because I feel like that's the only way to make it fair. And an additional first on top of that. Like, are you taking this or no?
If I'm the Patriots and if the Minnesota Vikings walk over to me and say, I'll give you 11, 23, and 129. I mean, yeah,
And next
probably.
year's first. And next year's first.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, this is the
Because then
going
the
rate.
Patriots, realistically, the Patriots will end up with a top 5 pick again next year, and then the Vikings with a rookie quarterback, they'll probably be around where they're at right now at 11. So you're the Patriots, and you're sitting there in 2025 with a top 5 pick and a top 15 pick.
All right, let's take it. Okay, and then why didn't it just go through?
I don't know.
The fuck?
It's showing as if it went through because you don't have the 2024. You trading them back?
Yeah, why didn't that just work?
I don't know.
I'll literally freak the fuck out right now.
We pay good
So,
money for this.
so I'm gonna have to cut all this shit out. There we go.
All right.
Okay, that worked right away. Quarterback
Drake May.
Drake May. We're in unison on that. Are
Marvin.
we okay? We're in unison on that.
This is where I'm not sure.
This is where I listen. This is I'll let you do whatever you want. Obviously, so just let me know what you're thinking.
So is this, are we going back and forth?
I mean, if you want, I figure we can just do whatever.
Just run through it. Okay. I mean, I know that Harbaugh like loves to go to build through the trenches. I don't really think that offensive line for the Chargers is that bad. I just don't think they have any weapons. I think Malik Neighbors makes a lot of sense here for them.
Okay, I'm fine with that. What are some trades that we have on the board here? Um, so this is the first team that I think is on the board for the next team for like a serious trade. Um, a few teams stick out in my head, and let me see what you think about this. I think the Colts stick out.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, and I
Do you think the
think
Colts stick out for the perspective of trading up and taking Brock Bowers?
no, I think that they stick out for trading up and taking this. This pick right here is the Roma Dunze pick. So
Okay.
I'm either thinking Chicago, Indianapolis, or the Bills.
I believe I saw your mock draft, and you had the Bills even trading up to what, 5 with the Chargers, I think.
Yeah.
I still had Roma Dunze falling back, and what I did in mine was I actually had the Giants taking McCarthy at 6.
Oof. All right, we can do that. I
But
brutally disagree with this.
right, but
I might veto this.
that's fine. I'm
Okay.
okay. I'm not like stone. I'm not set on that. I
I
was
think
just
I think if the I realistically think that the Giants are either a trade back candidate or they take Joe Alt or Roma Dunze. I don't think that there's anything else on the board that they do. I don't think that they take JJ McCarthy. I think it's all a Dunze or a trade back
smoke.
candidate.
I think if they take Alt, then the Titans end up trading
Well, let's go.
trading.
Stay
Yeah,
at six.
I think uh, if you're the Giants and you're not moving on from a quarterback, you realize I don't even know who they have at wide receiver off the top of my head.
Okay.
Who do
So
they
you
have?
uh Isaiah Hodges, Darius Slayton.
Yeah,
Um
that's such a bad receiving room.
so what do you want to do here?
And then who do they have? Who they've got at tackles? Thomas
Andrew
and Neal.
Thomas. Yeah.
I don't know. I that offensive line was abysmal. I think they got to go tackle here.
Okay, so who do
Joe
you
Alt.
want?
I think Joe Alt is
Okay.
the best, probably the best tackle in the draft.
Okay, so what do we think here at 7 then? You said
I
that
think
this
the
is a
Titans.
trade
I
back
think the
candidate.
Titans trade back if Alt's not on the board. If
Who's the
Alt
trade
is
back?
not if not available. That's the thing. I haven't decided who the trade back is yet. I think it's going to be a mystery team. It could be the Broncos. I mean, not the Broncos. The Colts could trade
Okay.
up, but I also don't think that the Titans would want to fall back that many spots because a lot of those teams in between 7 and 15 are taking offensive linemen. I
So
think we
what do we
could
think?
see.
Do you think that this could be an opportunity for the Buffalo Bills to trade up and get Roma Dunze?
I think it could be an opportunity for a team that needs a receiver to trade up. Absolutely.
So who do you
I
think that is?
I think it could be the Bills. But again, that goes back to my thing of I don't think that the uh, Titans want to move that far back and miss out because even though there is a lot of tackles, I guess is the gap between them after alt that much bigger between.
Yeah.
Like a team that I was thinking is I like part of me thinks that the Jets could end up trading up here because they see the Bears in front of them who have liked Roma Dunze and has been connected to Roma Dunze there. Maybe they want to, and they if they want another pass catcher, even though we just went through that whole exercise of Rodgers not liking rookies, and we think that the Jets. This is so difficult. I could literally never be a GM.
Honestly,
What do you think? You think the Bills move here?
I think this is a good opportunity for the Patriots to trade back up within the top 10 and grab a Dunze.
You think?
So you give the 11th pick for the 7th and then throw in like I don't know, the 68th pick and then go in there and then the Patriots can go ahead and take Roma Dunze and secure a number 1 wide receiver. You have the
Okay.
draft capital to do it. You're moving up from 11 to 7 and then you actually take a good player.
Okay.
So the next thing that I see here on the board is the Falcons at 8. There's 2 ways that they're going to go here. They're going to go there's no other they're very clear cut. They're either going to go Dallas Turner or Terrion Arnold. So I
Yeah.
guess that what I sit here and think is they've been dead last in sacks the last 2 seasons. Raheem Morris is a defensive coach. I think that they go and get the best edge rusher in the class.
Yeah. I'm right there with you with Dallas Turner.
Nice. Okay, so this is a weird team, I think, and this is something that I haven't seen anybody talk about. If Brock Bowers falls to 9, why would the Bears not take him?
I have
That
no
is
idea.
that
I
is
have no
my
idea why they wouldn't take him
I haven't
because
seen anybody say anything about it. This is so clearly the Brock Bowers team to me, and that's probably what I'm going to have as for my final mock. If I don't have them trading up for Adunze or Neighbors, if they stay at 9, I think that they just go ahead and take Brock Bowers.
I don't know why you wouldn't. Brock Bowers is equally as good at as a wide receiver, pass catcher, and just because you have
He's an upgrade over Komet.
yeah, and just because you have Cole Kmet doesn't mean you shouldn't have Brock Bowers.
All right, on the clock, the Jets. I think that we're pretty much in lockstep that they take a tackle.
Yeah,
I
I
think
just
I
don't know
think
which one they like the
I think
most.
I think Olu Fashanu is probably the guy that I'd take right here.
All right.
Next tackle. So kind of Fatanu is more of a is going to probably play guard in this situation. Me personally, I think who is the strongest candidate to take in this spot is JC Latham, but I could be talked out of it. I would say it's probably either between Fuanga or JC Latham.
I mean, I was leaning towards Fuaga because what I was hearing is that he can kind of play guard tackle if need be.
All right, let's
I could
take
be
him.
wrong, but that's what I was hearing, seeing.
All right, so this is this is a team that I'm sitting here and looking at in the it for the hold on 1 second.
You think they could trade back here?
I guess like we kind of talked about it earlier where you just like don't have anything. So why would you sit here? You just missed out. You missed out on the best wide receiver. You missed out on the best edge. You missed out on a lot of these top guys that like you would say are top guys. So I guess my question to you is like, does it make a lot of sense for the Broncos who like if you look at their trade at their draft capital, they have a full draft currently here, but like they don't have any players and they don't have a quarterback. You just missed out on everybody. Would you say here this is the JJ McCarthy team, or do you think that a team with a lot of assets could potentially get aggressive and try to take somebody?
I mean, my history tells me that I didn't do this, but this is something that I've been noticing. The Eagles have been trading up a lot in these last couple of drafts, and I wouldn't put it past them to trade up and grab one of these corners. They've been doing a lot of research from what I've seen with these guys, with some of these corners, and it almost feels like if you're like the Broncos just need any good players at this point. And the Eagles are a team that has been trading up in recent years. I don't know if it's to I don't know if it's 10 spots up, but I do think that there's part of me that thinks the Eagles might try and move up at some point in this first round. Like maybe to get in front of like the Jags, but that makes like the most sense because I think the Jags also are probably going to take a corner. At least that's what I've been mocking, but I
I
could be
think so.
talked out
I
of it.
mean,
What do you think?
I, I just think that like I think that the Eagles are at a point now where it's like I get it, like I understand what Eagles like fans think, but like I just like the Eagles can't always trade up. Like they can't always get the best players. Like they can't always pay everybody a shit ton of money. So like I think
So
that
that's
this
why I
is
think you trade up and get a rookie quarterback or a rookie corner or a I mean,
I think that's best case scenario for them, but I would say right now that they would have to probably give up a lot of assets. So um
and I don't think they're going to give up 3 picks to move up that far. Because I think
so
there's a bunch of other good I think there's a handful of good corners, like, unless they're set on a guy, they're like, we really want Quinyon Mitchell, and we really wanna move up and take him." That's the only way that I could see them doing it because I think there's still other good corners that could fall to them.
so this is where a team with better assets and are going to be more aggressive and have more to win, I feel like, than what the Eagles do, is the
Yeah,
Arizona Cardinals, who are in desperate need of a corner. So
yeah.
this is the team that I would personally use because we're going to give them
Go ahead.
tw-
I'm with that.
20 27, 66, and 71 instead of 22 and 2 picks in the 50s. But I just think that they're going to be more aggressive, and I think that they could even probably potentially throw in something else. But I think that this is the clear trade up team. I think the Cardinals get ultra aggressive because they can. They have a ton of shots at the board for this draft. So I mean, I think that we can throw in another pick there too if they want.
I
And this
would I would
gives.
t I was gonna say I would have taken out, 71 and put 2 later round picks, probably.
I think that honestly, I think that this 12 pick is going to kind of be a little coveted against a few teams because like you said, this is your first shot at the board to take a defensive player, and I think that the uh the Raiders and the Broncos are two teams that want those guys as well. So you're going to have to get them into a position where they're going to be like, okay, we either need a ton of assets or we're just going to stay here and take the good player. And I think
Okay,
the team to get in front of is the Raiders. So I guess
okay.
my question to you is like, which corner do you like right now?
I mean, I think Quinyon Mitchell's the best one.
Okay.
What are you? Are you in agreement?
No, I think Terrion Arnold's the best corner in the draft, but I mean I don't hate Quinion Mitchell at all. I
Remember
just
when
would
I said that at the very beginning of this?
what?
Arion Arnold was my favorite guy, my favorite corner.
Yeah, he's just good. I just heard a story about him the other day about like his note taking and shit like that. And I think him and Quinion Mitchell are just both dogs. So
I mean, yeah, I think it's those two are the top 2 guys.
um so this is a situation where I think that they're on the board for an offensive tackle, and the biggest person on this board that makes the most sense to me is Amarius Mims, who's big as fuck, under like doesn't have as much uh gameplay experiences that you want him to, and that's the perfect draft candidate for the Raiders.
You think just because you can put him in there and say, "Hey, we don't need you to be a world stopper right now. We just want you to play, develop, etc."
I I just think that the Raiders are bad at drafting, and I'm not saying that Amarius Mims is going to be bad, but I think that
Oh, oh, oh.
I just think it's like one of those situations where everybody
The
has
Alex
Amarius.
Leatherwood situation.
Yeah, everybody has Amarius Mims going like in the 20s, and then it would be so Raiders to skip over
Yeah.
better guys and
Yeah.
take Amarius Mims.
Yeah. Like in my head, it makes sense for them to take Latham here, but Amarius Mims, it's also the Raiders. So
Um, this is a tackle team to me as well. They have bad offensive line health. This says quarterback. They're locked into Derek Carr for 2 years. They are
yeah.
not taking quarterback in the first round. So,
No.
who do you like here?
I mean, I think if you're the Saints and Latham is there or Fountainu is there, I think you're happy with either one of those. So whoever you think.
Okay. All right. I feel like this is like the hardest pick on the board now um
Yeah.
because all the good wide receivers are gone, the tight end's gone, and both of the best DBs are now off the board. Or actually they're not off the
No,
board. We have
just
Terrion
just
Arnold still.
Quignon is off the board.
So I don't know. What are you thinking here?
I think I have them taking Terrion Arnold.
Okay, let's do it.
I told you how I felt about Cooper at the very beginning of this process, and you texting me the other day saying that teams are looking at him to be like a slot or like to be a nickel corner and or safety type. Um, Pretty much solidifies my feelings about him as a corner.
He's just flat on every single board on for teams and as a safety. Like
Yeah. So
there's no other way to put it. So he's not going to be drafted as a corner. He's going to be drafted as like a nickel / safety.
yeah.
Okay, so what do you think the Jaguars do here?
You mean the Seahawks?
The Seahawks, sorry.
I think they go D line. I don't know if there's like it says guard, center, edge, linebacker. I'm not sure if there's a guy that you like if one of these tackles can slide into guard.
Yeah, I don't know. Me personally here, I'm not looking at guards. I'm looking at one of these guys. I'm looking at like somebody like Christian Hayes. Um, he who else
Just an
is
interior O lineman.
some of these guys are interior O linemen as well. Like I'm looking at Graham Barton here, probably. Tyler Guyton. These two are going to be playing in the inside at the next level.
Yeah.
That's what I would do personally, but unless if you want to go D line.
I have been having D line, but I'm okay with offensive line in this spot too, like interior.
All right, well, let's get crazy then, and let's take Christian Hayes
All right.
out of UConn. Okay, so
Out of the national champions.
yeah, exactly. You got to get a national champion on your team. Now this is a pick where like we can get like super casual or kind of do whatever you want. Like a lot of people feel as if the Jaguars should take a wide receiver. I don't love any wide receivers here at this point.
No.
If there's anybody that's sticking out to you like automatically, I think probably what makes the most sense for them is to probably just like take a D back, but I don't know. Their offensive line was also dog shit last season.
But wasn't their starting tackle hurt for a lot of the season?
Yeah, Cam Johnson was hurt. Cam Robinson, sorry, not Cam Johnson.
Robinson. Yeah. Yeah. For this pick, I've been either leaning on I think I actually might have taken Jared Verse for them in this spot, but like I don't know. I don't know what the Jaguars secondary necessarily looks like. Like, are they a team that could have Cooper play, like take Cooper and have him as a safety that he's gonna play? I don't know. What do you think?
I think that they have like okay corner play. It's nothing special. Um, I think DeJean could probably work as like a utility player for them, and I don't hate taking him here.
How about matching? Didn't they just sign Josh Allen to an extension?
Yeah,
How about matching somebody up with him on the other side of the defensive line?
they have
I don't
somebody.
know what their interior looks like. Oh yeah, they
I
have
mean,
Dang, I don't really know who the heck the Jaguars should take here.
They have 2 edge rushers that they took
Yeah, they
with the
just
number
got.
1 pick,
You're
and they
right, they
also
did.
so
It was Josh
on
Allen, and then they literally just got
like 2
shoot,
years ago.
I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what. I guess. I mean, what other is there? Who else is on the board for corners? Nate Wiggins, he's on there. Like I don't know if that's worth taking if they have decent corner play already.
Hold on, I'm getting really mad about
That the other edge.
yeah. What year would it have been? 2019?
Well, isn't that Josh Allen?
No.
Oh, fuck.
Trayvon Walker in 2022.
Yes.
Gosh, that was getting me angry. So yeah, I think that they have Trayvon Walker. You signed Josh Allen to an extension. I don't see why edge would be a position of
I
need for them.
I agree.
Honestly,
I forgot about
honestly,
Trayvon Walker.
honestly, if we're going true corner in a situation like this, like I wouldn't hate taking like the kid from Missouri or the kid from Michigan in this situation.
You think that you would rather have one of them over Nate Wiggins?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Let's go. Rakestraw.
Missouri. Yeah. Rakestraw's ice cream.
I think if this guy falls to the Bengals, they're shitting fucking rainbows, and that's J.C. Latham.
Yeah. They desperately need to protect Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
And
he's
even though
alive.
they have 2 guys, but they're just not great.
And Joe Burrows has been a complete liability from a health standpoint. He's missed 2 seasons already.
Yeah.
Which people don't like to talk about, but I mean that's just the reality. Here I either like replacing what's his name, Aaron
Donald.
Donald, or taking an edge. So that's what I would stick my
I
claim.
like Byron Murphy much better than Jared Verse or Latu. And he's Aaron Donald's replacement, so that's it. And I think that he's could go sooner if there wasn't so many need based picks for these teams. I think he's better than 19.
All right. Let's go. Let's figure out which tackle you like for the Steelers, or they go corner here.
Yeah, I was seeing Cooper to the Steelers as well, but I think I like that Jordan Morgan kid is definitely going to be gone in this first round.
All right, let's take him here then. Or you're scared?
Okay.
All right. Here I feel like we can take
Yeah.
edge, D line. I would probably go more edge, but I don't know. It's up to you.
I think they keep Jared Verse in state.
Eagles.
This is the tricky one.
I don't know why they have wide receiver as like a need for this team. They're like the least.
Yeah.
There's like the team that does not need a wide receiver, like literally in any capacity. They have 2 guys making a shit ton of money.
Yeah. I think they just are, and they have a good tight end and they have a good running back. Like they've got plenty of weapons. I don't think they need another one, especially with this pick. Part of me, I know I was talking about corner earlier, but if you aren't trading up, I think what happens is they end up taking an offensive lineman.
Who?
I don't know because I think I had other guys in my mock drafts, but I think they have to start preparing for Lane Johnson's Lane Johnson retiring.
So who do you want?
I don't know. Like, I haven't seen enough of Graham Barton to like fully commit to him. But I guess just for the sake of like an offensive lineman, I think that's who they end up taking. You can put Graham Barton because I don't know if it'll be him, but I do think they take an offensive lineman.
All right, now we have the Patriots back on the board. Which, if we go back in time at pick 7, they took Roma Dunze. Now they're at number 23. We can go offensive lineman or quarterback at this position.
Do you think we haven't taken JJ McCarthy off the board yet, have we?
No.
I don't know. I think there's too much smoke about him going early that he ends up falling here. But if you're the Patriots and he's on the board, I mean, I think you give it a shot.
Let's do it. All right. Dallas, this pick I'm so like in on right now. It's Jackson Powers Johnson to the Cowboys.
Yep.
Green Bay, they got rid of a lot of their safeties. Cooper DeJean's still on the board. Let's take Cooper DeJean here.
Yeah, match him up with Xavier McKinney.
This is a weird team that I don't really know what they need. But Liatu Latu is on the board, and then I don't know. I feel like that could be a good fit.
Yeah, probably.
Same situation here with the Broncos. Dude, I don't know if they get to this situation. I have absolutely no idea what they pick.
I don't either. What did they take already? What do we have them taking already?
Nothing. They traded back.
They traded all the way back. Okay, I wasn't sure if they traded back. That's far. Oh, geez, yeah, dude, I don't have a single clue. I guess this is just like best player on the board.
Okay, well, I'm gonna take an edge in this situation, and I'm gonna take
your guy.
I'm gonna take Marshawn Kneeland.
Yeah.
If this happens for the Bills, I think that they'll be happy. There's a lot of wide receivers left on the board. You can kind of take your pick of who you think they take, but I feel like it's almost certain if they stay at 28 and they're going to take a receiver. It feels like, correct?
Absolutely.
So who's your favorite guy here at the stab?
Probably Brian Thomas, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you like AD better?
No, I don't like AD at all. Dude, honestly, it sounds really crazy, but AD Mitchell, Brian Thomas Jr., Troy Franklin, like, I just at that point I'd rather just take like Jalen McMillan or Malik Washington, but they're not going to be.
I don't think you need to go all that deep down to get one.
I'm just saying, me personally, you don't. But I'm just saying, me personally, if these three were the ones that I would have to pick from, like, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't love it.
I would take Keon Coleman then.
Okay.
I think Keon Coleman has the highest ceiling out of all of those guys. I'm also extremely biased.
The Lions, and in this situation, it feels like that they're either going to go edge or corner. I don't think that there's anything other than
Nate
that.
Wiggins, probably.
Okay. Ravens on the clock. What do you think?
Wide receiver, O-line, edge. Honestly, I think if you're the Ravens, you have Brian Thomas sitting there, you're probably pretty thrilled. And I feel like they need to pair somebody up with Zay Flowers. Pretty solid on the O-line.
The 49ers.
The 49ers. This was another corner position. I know you don't like Kool-Aid McKinstry as a first rounder.
I like Mike.
This could be your Michigan. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there.
All right, and then the Chiefs on the clock. Who do you like for the Chiefs to take?
I don't know the build of Troy Franklin.
Xavier Worthy?
I think if you get Xavier Worthy, you're just getting Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown was a first round pick.
Yeah, I know, but do you need two of the same guys like that?
I'm right with you. I don't think so either. I think that that's a fair statement. So it sounds like you don't like them to take a wide receiver then at that point.
I just don't know if I like them to take Xavier Worthy, like a small speed demon, because that already matches with what they have. Like
So
I feel like they might need a bigger bodied guy.
so AD
Or like
Mitchell.
a honestly like not maybe not like a bigger body, but more of like a more like reliable middle of the field quick out type guy. Like I don't know. Like I like Lad McConkey, but I don't know if that's the right move here because he's
So
also
Ricky
not big.
Pearsall.
I don't know. Like I don't know enough about Ricky Pearsall. I know he had like one really cool catch, but that's it.
Dude, honestly, I think in this situation, I think you got to go O line. I mean, I know it's not like what everybody wants to hear, but I mean, Tyler Guyton's still on the board. I'd probably take him.
Okay, apparently this kid from Washington, Roger Rosengarten, is solid. I
I
haven't
haven't
seen enough.
I haven't seen him go. I haven't seen any first round buzz from him at all.
The one athletic podcast that I was listening to, the one guy was talking about him as his top 5 offensive tackles. But I think you're right with Tyler Guyton being there. I think you take him.
All right, let's do it.
I wish we could get graded on this.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing right now. This is not anything what my final mock would look like at all, but I don't hate it.
It's fine.
Listen, I think probably what I can take away from this is like if the Patriots are actually in this position to have like multiple picks, like they need to like not be afraid to be aggressive and like move around. Kind of like what the Cardinals did like last season where they had a bunch of guys they traded back from 2 and then to 12 and then traded up to 7 to take Paris Johnson Jr. I think a little bit of the groundwork has been laid. And I think that the Patriots, we talked a shit ton about the Patriots, but I think that like what happened to them in free agency, where they just pretty much got like big dogged by like the Titans and the Raiders and every other player that they wanted and didn't spend many picks. I think that they're going to be in a situation here that they need to be aggressive. And if they aren't aggressive, like I'm going to almost like question a little bit at like what sort of direction they're going to go. Like if they just sit and take the quarterback, I'm just going to sit there and just be like, are these guys really serious about winning football games? Because if you were serious about winning football, you would have gone after guys way harder.
You're saying like if they were serious about it, they would have gone harder for the offseason guys, like the free agents.
I think so. I mean,
Or just
if you
in
were
general,
serious
like
about
after
getting a
the
wide,
draft. Or both.
I think both. I think that like I think the first red flag in this situation is like them. Sorry to talk about the Patriots so much. I don't know why, but like them not landing like anybody, like not getting Calvin Ridley because you didn't want to pay him $2 more million. Like when you had the money to spend, you fucked up.
Yeah.
You not spending the money on Christian Wilkins and bringing him to New England and letting him go to the Raiders, like you fucked up. So
Yep.
I think that like if you were really serious, like what we were talking about earlier, like getting guys in the building, building a good core around him, doing this, that, and the third, like you would have taken getting those guys like in the building way more serious in free agency. And now it's the time to kind of figure that out.
Are you okay?
Listen, I'm fine. I just me and Rose like don't talk right now, and I like have her blocked, and
Oh boy.
she like shared an album with me like on like iMessage, like you know what I'm talking about, and like put like a 5 minute video in there of just
Oh,
like her.
like the like on like the iCloud photo share shit.
Yeah, and shared it with me because I have her number blocked and shit. And like she like sent me like a 5-minute message of her talking, and I just like wasn't expecting it, and it threw me off. Like I literally, because I saw
I
like
heard the story time. I heard
yeah,
that.
I was like, well, I just like I like look at my look at my phone and I just saw her like on I saw like the photo thing pop up, and I was like, who's sharing a photo with me? And then I saw like Rose Bauer, and I was like, why is she what is she sharing with me? So I had to watch it. My bad. But I'm back.
No,
And what was your question? Because you asked me a question like as soon as that happened, and I
I
was like,
know.
my bad.
Okay, so we were talking about the Patriots, but I was trying to think of that offseason when they signed all those guys, and it was the 2021 offseason where they like my initial question was, do we think that the Patriots have some type of like buyer's remorse from that offseason? Because the listen to the names of the guys that they signed, and like they didn't none of them really panned out. So I mean maybe like one or two, but Montravius Adams, Nelson Aguilar, Henry Anderson, Kendrick Bourne, Trent Brown, Devon Godshaw, Hunter Henry, Matthew Judon, Ted Karras, Raekwon McMillan, Jalen Mills, Leroy Reynolds. Like, do you think there's buyer's remorse from them from that offseason that was like, dang, do we really want to try and overpay for some of these guys right now? I think Christian Wilkins is probably the best guy is a better player than all of those guys. Maybe besides Matthew Judon because he was good for them, but he's also younger now than Judon was at the time. But none of those guys were really anything special for the Patriots. So they're like,
Mm-mm.
why do we need to go out there and feel like we should spend all this money and it not pan out?
I mean, I'm right with you. I don't think they have buyer's remorse, honestly, because you have to get a roster and you have to put it
You do.
out, and you look at the position that they're in now, and it's like they have a lot of cap space. It's not like they're tied to all these contracts like super long term by any means. So I don't know, probably a little, but at the same time, like I don't think that the Patriots put themselves in a situation where it was like, oh, dude, like we're locked into this contract and we're in cap hell and like all this stuff. Like they honestly got off of all of those contracts and they're off all their books, and a lot of those guys aren't even on the team anymore. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think whatever decisions that were made, like they kind of wrote their wrongs a little bit in a way, which you kind of don't see a lot of teams do.
No, but my point is like, do you think that the nasty experience that they had from signing all of those guys is what led to them being hesitant to throw more money around this off season?
I don't think so, because obviously there's a clear like talent and name like recognition upgrade over it with Calvin Ridley and Christian Wilkins rather than those
Agreed.
guys that they brought in. So I just flat think that I think that like the GM who's in there now, honestly, like I just think he doesn't have his big boy pants on yet. Like it was kind of like a welcome to the league moment for him a little bit, where like he thought that he was going to have an opportunity to get these guys, and he was like, I'm going to go get them. And then when it really came down to it, he didn't shell out the best deal. So I think it was like a little bit of a welcome to the league moment for that GM who is literally in his first time ever doing it.
It's wild because I feel like it normally goes the opposite way. Like you get a GM, like a new GM, and it feels like the mindset is like, all right, let me go out here and prove that I'm a good GM. Like, and you get an overspend on players,
Mhm.
and that didn't happen. Like for example, the Suns did that when they did the deal for Bradley Beal,
Definitely.
and I it it just normally goes the other direct like it goes more so that direction than it does underpaying guys. So it was just
Yeah, and I think that like I think we can all sit here like Calvin Ridley's 29. Do I think Calvin Ridley has 2 more years of solid football in him? I really do.
yeah,
Christian Wilkins is 27, 28. Like, do I think he has 3 good years left in him? I do. So
yep.
I think that that would have been really good additions to have to a team where they have so much money to spend. That's really what it comes down to. You have the money to spend, go bring the guys in. With the Patriots, it's the initial spend was like a bunch of guys that at the time it sounded like a lot of money, but ultimately they were able to get out of those deals. So
it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money for the Patriots to spend in an offseason for a team that historically doesn't have to go out there and do that. I think that's why it seemed so much more than normal. So.
Yeah, and I'm right with you on that. I guess one last thing that if you want to do it, it'd probably take 20 minutes. Was my top 10 quarterback rankings that I put out that you said you wanted to touch on like last week.
Yes. Do you have it pulled up?
Let me take a look here.
Because I think I got it.
Yep, I got it.
All right. Number 1, obvious, Mahomes.
Do I have to defend that?
No. That's why I said obvious. Number 2, obvious, Josh Allen. Number 3 is where I have a disagreement with you because I think there's another gentleman on this list that should be higher up out of this top 10.
Yeah, honestly, this was a situation where I wanted to actually put Matt Stafford third, but I put CJ Stroud third. I just like the situation that he's going to this year slightly more than what Matt Stafford is in. So, but who would you have at 3?
I think that I would have put Lamar at 3.
Okay. I definitely respect Lamar as a player. I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. The CJ Stroud pick was a hype pick at 3. From a right now, who do I think, like if I were to play in a like your kind of way of looking at things, if I were to play in a Super Bowl tomorrow, would I want Matt Stafford or Lamar Jackson? I'd probably lean with Stafford right now.
I agree with that.
I think that Stafford's still playing at an extremely high level. I think he's the most accomplished out of the group. The CJ Stroud was just based truly off of, I think that he's going to be really good.
Okay.
So 4, we talked about it, Stafford. 5, the 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. Love Lamar. I have nothing wrong with him at all. I just think that from a quarterback standpoint, I think Stroud and Stafford throw the ball slightly better than him. Is Lamar a way better weapon on the ground? For sure. We could talk about like health, because Stafford's been hurt a lot. Lamar's been hurt, where it seems like Lamar's timing of his injuries play a little bit more of a negative impact on the team than what Stafford's does. Like Stafford seems to get banged up, but still plays through it. It seems like when Lamar gets a little banged up, it kind of really compromises his game fully, and he's not able to play through that. So that's kind of the way that I tiered both of those guys.
It always feels like Lamar's injury comes down to like the last 2 weeks of the season, and it's like, oh, we need Lamar to come in here and play for us to win the division or something like that. Because didn't they play a playoff game with Tyler Huntley?
Yes, against the
Yeah.
Bengals and almost won.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously that's good on them for keeping that game close. And I believe that if Lamar played, they probably would have won that game. Obviously, easy to say that now, but
yeah,
obviously not the one of the games you want to lose your MVP quarterback for.
Number 6, I have Brock Purdy. Since he started playing football, he like literally just does not lose. He has two rough games in his career. Both of them came in inclement weather. We can talk about his hand size. But other than that, like he's pretty much as of right now, he's practically had a flawless career. Um, he's really good. I don't really know what else to say. I know that there's a lot of haters of Brock Purdy. This past season in the playoffs, I think he showed up. I think it's really understated of how big he showed up. In the game before the NFC Championship, he took them down on a game winning drive and won the game. In the NFC Championship, that dude ran all over the yard, and I didn't even think that he had it in him. And I was like, wow, that was amazing to see out of somebody who I definitely had a lot of doubts about. And I think that he was legitimately a key, like the reason that they won the game. So I just think Brock Purdy's like really good. He obviously has a ton of great talent around him, but I think that at a point we have to kind of sit around and be like, he doesn't make many mistakes. If he's willing to do things that need to be done to win the game, whether that be push the ball downfield, scramble on the ground when it's needed from him, whatever. I think Brock Purdy's kind of the complete package. I really like him.
Admittedly, I gained more respect for him as the playoffs went on. Um, I still think having him at 6 might be a little too high. Um, the piece of it that is causing me to say that is just because of how good their entire team was. Um, and I'm not sure he has that same type of success elsewhere. But again, that's easy to say um, with a lot of other quarterbacks too, I think. But I think if you're in this top 10, at least in my head, I think you have to be able to go to like 75% of the NFL teams and be like really good. And I don't know if he can do that.
Man, I
I
don't
think
know.
he
I think he can.
I guess we'll have to see as time goes by, but I
And we
I
talk
think he's
about this,
probably in that top 12 realm. I think 6 is too high for me personally.
and we talk about this literally all the time. A lot of the situations with the quarterbacks in the NFL, and the reason why they're so successful is because the schemes that they're put in. Is
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes as successful if he doesn't have Andy Reid? We literally will never know. So
correct.
I think that there's like a very fair point to have. Like Brock Purdy is super young in his career and has done nothing but one. If he stays with Shanahan for the next 3 years and has 5 legitimate years of experience, I think that we're sitting here saying like, okay, like you can kind of plug Brock Purdy into any offense and like play extremely well. And I think that
Yeah,
you can now.
that's why I made my comment is I think I need to see it a little bit longer. And I guess that kind of goes to CJ Stroud too. Um,
That's fair.
before I put it, if I'm going to keep that energy with Brock Purdy, I have to keep the same energy with CJ Stroud. Um, I think I'm taking CJ Stroud before Brock Purdy moving forward if I want a quarterback, but um, Brock Purdy did earn some of my respect this playoff run.
Bro, some of
Played
the
really well.
games
Yeah,
he played, I was like, all right, well, like I can't, like the one game in the NFC Championship where he scrambled for like 70 yards, I was like, I
yeah.
literally can't even hate on the guy anymore because he's like actually a gamer. So I like him a lot, and I think that he'll continue to ascend. I don't see any reason for him to get worse next season. Um, Number 7, I have Dak Prescott. Dak, we talk about it all the time, hasn't had the postseason success that you want to see, but he's a walking 10 games. And he should have been the MVP last season. He was crazy good. Every single time that he walked up to the line of scrimmage, he completely controlled the offense. Made CD Lamb an automatic superstar number 1 wide receiver and is going to get him ultra paid. I think Dak's super underrated. I think he's really good. We haven't seen him. We've seen him have like those mishaps where like he throws 2 picks against the Packers, and then everybody's like, "Man, Dak sucks." It's like, I get it, but like if you're in a situation where a guy's winning you X amount of games, you want him to kind of rise up in those occasions. It seems like he hasn't really been able to, which sucks, but at the same time, football's a team game. Maybe other sides of the game need to step up when they're in those situations, but regardless, I like Dak.
Yeah, I can't keep somebody out of like that top 10, top 12 range if you're winning 10 plus games every year. So I think by default, regardless of playoff success, I think he is in that realm too. So
And he's like one of those guys too where like I always kind of hated on Dak like super hard. But then like you watched him last season when he was just like super dialed in. And it was like, holy shit, like Dak's actually really good. So I'm excited to watch him and McCarthy. Like when everybody wanted McCarthy gone, I think we talked about it a little bit, but I want to see him with McCarthy still because his game has been elevated to a point where like he's like a legitimate like MVP contender. So I want to see him in that offense again. He's been balling. So yeah, Dak at 7. 8, I have Joe Burrow. Do you have an issue with that?
no, I don't. I just think if you haven't been I think the Super Bowl run that he had is honestly probably what's keeping him at number 8 right now, because if he doesn't have that, it's a very disappointing career so far because he's missed 2 seasons.
I think that's an extremely fair assessment of Joe Burrow. I know everybody really loves him, but I
I
don't
love
know.
Joe Burrow, but it's you there has to be a cutoff between you have to play.
Yeah, there was I struggled with this. I almost kept him off the list completely. Um, he's and people like don't talk about it. Like he is an absolute liability from an injury perspective at this point. And like it sucks to say, but I mean, he's had 2 major injuries in his career already. Like one on the throwing hand of his wrist and thumb, which we really don't know how that'll affect him. Like nobody kind of talks about that. And he's had a major knee injury. So I like Joe Burrow. I just think that like he needs to figure that health out. 9, Justin Herbert. First thing now I want to say about Justin Herbert, and then you can say whatever. Nobody talks about this. He is like the toughest dude in the NFL. Like the last year he played with like broken ribs the entire season, and then this season he played with a broken finger on his throwing hand. He is
Yeah.
tough as hell, plays through everything, and I don't I will never understand the Justin Herbert hate in any way, shape, or form.
So I think I have an answer for you for that, and I think it's because he just hasn't won enough games. Like he hasn't won enough in the NFL. Like people across media put him in top 5 quarterbacks, but I think there and I was guilty of this too with from an arm talent perspective. I'm honestly not sure there's anybody that we've ever seen that can throw the football like Justin Herbert. But I think I've grown on this take, but I think the more that you play, you have to be able to win football games. And if you're that good at quarterback, why aren't you winning more games? I know that it's not just a quarterback that wins you a football game, but like if you're put in that top 5 quarterback mark from a lot of people, there's got to be a point where you start winning football games. And if not, then I think you have to start to get bumped out of that top 5 realm, if that makes sense.
I think that's I think that's fair. But like I said, I also think he's like supremely talented and think that he'll just continue to get
100%.
better.
I think so
Um,
too. I think the biggest thing that he needs is um, coaching. I think they just need to
no
get the right
doubt.
coaching. Like, I'm like, I hate Jim Harbaugh from like the Michigan perspective of it, but that guy turned Michigan around. And I know it isn't a guarantee that that translates to the NFL, but I think he's a really good head coach. And I'm excited to see Joe Burrow hopefully not Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert take the next step.
Yeah. Listen, I'm right with you. And 10, I mean, honestly, for however long Aaron Rodgers is in the NFL, it's kind of like the Tom Brady argument. Like he's a top 10 quarterback. There's kind of no, in my head at least, like there's kind of no arguing that. So I would take Aaron Rodgers, like even off the injury or whatever, he's still a dog.
What's going to happen this year is he's going to go out there and stay healthy and probably end up in the MVP case.
Probably.
So
And then you have to have him in there.
It's wild because we sat here and we watched like Tom Brady do all of that, all of the great things that he did at the quarterback position. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is still going to go out probably and play at an insanely high level at age 40, 39.
No
And
doubt.
it's even if you don't like the guy outside of football, you got to admit that he's a dog on the football field. And it'll be exciting to see him throw the football to Garrett Wilson this year. Garrett Wilson will probably have 1,700 yards.
I need him to.
So no, I get it. I'm. It's really hard for me to do a top 10. So I think like the 12. That's why I was like kept mentioning like the top 12 thing, because at this point like I don't think. Like, I can't sit here and say that Jalen Hurts deserves to be in that top 10 list. But also,
Bro, honestly, it hurts. It hurts to see, but like like the argument that we use like against Brock Purdy, like we should
it's
use
the
it
exact
against
same
Jalen
thing.
Hurts.
I know.
Like
I know.
we watch him behind an all-time great offensive line, two of the top 5 highest paid receivers in the NFL. You really like DeAndre Swift. Like I just like I guess like it's to a point where he needs like this is a absolute prove it year for him. Like if he doesn't do it this year, like I think that's like where the conversations start to be had where it's like, is he that guy?
Well, that's why I said I disagreed with you having Brock Purdy at 6, because in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, he's probably right alongside with Jalen Hurts as far as where I'm ranking those guys, because they both have been playing in the NFL for not that long, and they're both on really good teams, and they both have had Super Bowl runs and lost. So like they're almost hand in hand in my eyes, except Jalen's played one more year.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I was not okay with Brock Purdy at 6. I think that having him back a little bit further in that top 12 range, like I said, like I think realistically I would probably have like, but then again, like that goes back to Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow had a Super Bowl run, lost, and then has missed 2 full seasons. So like, is Joe Burrow in the same realm with those 3 guys?
I just think like I'm sitting here looking at what
and Joe
Brock
Burrow's
Purdy,
had 2 really good receivers.
I'm looking at what Brock Purdy has done this 2023 season. I'm just comparing it to that and what I think is going to happen this season. He had 4,200 yards, 31 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and was first in QBR.
Can you compare that to Jalen Hurts' Super Bowl run season?
I mean, yeah, I can. But
yeah, I think that's a more fair comparison.
He had 3,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, with a 68.3 QBR when Brock Purdy had a 72.8 QBR this past year. So, and obviously, so like Jalen,
like I said, I think they're right there with one another.
Jalen Hurts, like obviously plays in that. I think, bro, I'm just saying, like, I think it's extremely.
I think you also didn't count Jalen's rushing touchdowns or Brock Purdy's rushing touchdowns. I don't know how many he had.
I don't think that.
I think Jalen had 13 rushing touchdowns.
I mean, yeah, I mean, okay, a lot of those were really sick from the
cut them in half. I'll cut him in half
Like,
to 6 actual rushing
because like
touchdowns.
like honestly, like that's legitimately the cheapest play in football. So I'm not
Fine, that's why I'll cut it in half. I agree
yeah.
with you. I'll cut it in
I
half to
think
6 rushing touchdowns, and
I
that puts
think
him
that
at
he
28 or something.
yeah, and I think it's dude, I really do. I think it's extremely impressive to have the highest rusher on your team and still throw for 4,200 yards and 31 touchdowns. Like you're clearly balling out. Like at that point, your offense is putting out a ton of output. So, um, I'm with you. I just think that what I've seen from both of those is I don't view Brock Purdy as like as limited as a passer as like what Jalen Hurts is. And I think that it got extremely one dimensional last season, like with Jalen Hurts, when you look at like what Brock Purdy does, where he kind of is spreading it all over the field, hitting plays across the middle, which Jalen Hurts really struggles at. I think he pushes the ball downfield better than Jalen Hurts. Like, and Jalen Hurts has better weapons, in my opinion. Like, if you ask me, do I want Devonta Smith and AJ Brown over Ayuk and Debo Samuel? I'm saying yes, personally.
Yeah, I would definitely take AJ Brown and Devontae Smith over those two guys, no doubt.
So
Um,
and then from what I kind of took health into this consideration as well when making this, and I know that he had the elbow injury, kind of a complete freak injury, but like when Jalen Hurts gets banged up and you kind of don't know, like if it's really that bad, like sit out. If it's not that bad, then like it really, really affects like his game. It feels like where like there will be some weeks where like he'll literally look like a completely different player, and it's like, is he
yeah,
okay? Like, and if he's not okay, like, should he be playing? Like, I don't know. So that is like another side of things where it's like if that rushing ability is ever compromised, which it has been,
yeah, there was a
I
lot of plays where he would just like step out of the pocket and then just like fall down for
yeah,
like
and
1
he
yard.
and like he looked slow at times. So I guess like
Yeah.
from that side of things, like I would just rather have somebody who's like a little bit more reliable from like a passer standpoint, which I really do think Brock Purdy throws the ball better than Jalen Hurts. I don't think that's like a super hot take.
Um, Probably. I'd have to kind of go back and watch everything over again, but
Dude, you
I
watched
don't
the
know.
Eagles last season.
Jalen. No, no, I don't. I know that last year, but I'm trying to compare it to like when Jalen was playing at his best. And that was, I mean, to be honest though, Jalen's made a lot of insane throws that I feel like he doesn't really get a lot of credit for. I mean,
I feel like
also to
every
be,
starting quarterback does.
I was also just gonna say every quarter. It's not like every good throw that every quarterback makes is going to get posted everywhere at every second. So like, I'm not super pressed about that. Um, but there's definitely been a lot of great throws that Jalen's made. Um, but I just can't help but have a sour taste after like the second half of that season last year. So like I
It was
understand having
rough, dude.
Brock Purdy. I understand
Yeah.
having Brock Purdy higher than Jalen Hurts, like coming into this season. But like as a whole, I don't think the gap between them is actually that big. Is
bro,
my
bro,
point.
last season, and like, listen, I took
Last season, I fully tried to talk myself into the fact that they were going to be okay, and wore that stupid fucking hard hat that's right behind me, and I did call that they were going to lose that playoff game.
we both did. We were all over it. Me and you we were like, we're not getting fooled by like this bullshit. But bro, with that being said, too, like you're looking at Brock Purdy, who's making
I know,
900K
completely different salaries
compared to
standpoint.
somebody who's making 250 mil. So I
Oh,
think for
if you're the Niners, are you about to pay Brock Purdy 250 mil?
I don't think you do. I don't think you have to. Really don't. Dude, I genuinely think that Brock Purdy is going to be this is going to be crazy to say. Like I think that like Brock Purdy is like smart enough to sit there and be like let's do like the Tom Brady Patriots model. and like I'll take pay cuts because like why not?
I need to keep these guys around me.
Like I want
I
to
need to keep
play
those shooters around me.
like bro, at the end of the day, like he's happy to be there because there was like almost like a 0% chance he would ever play. So like
Yeah.
now for him to like go back, listen, and if he does this, I'm out on Brock Purdy. Let's just put it this way: if he goes like, I need a $275 million contract, like yeah, I'm out on Brock Purdy. I am. But like I think that it'll get to a situation where I think that I think he's smart. I think he's just going to be like, well, how do we keep Ayuk? Like what's a realistic option for us to like keep Ayuk and continue to add to the defense? And they'll be like, well, can you do 185? Can you take the Kirk Cousins deal? They'll be like, yeah, we can take the Kirk Cousins deal. And then at that point you have a lot more flexibility. So I think, listen, I have zero intel. I have absolutely no clue. I've talked to nobody on the Niners. It just genuinely feels like that would be the best interest in his career to be like, let's figure this out so we can continue to like add talent. Because like, look at their teams that they put out, bro. They're stupid.
Yeah.
They're stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you get to the point where you're due 275 mil and you're like, well, fuck. When am I ever going to get that much money put in front of me at one time?
You're probably, brother, realistically, like you're probably not. But like I also I don't view Brock Purdy as like that guy. Like he's not like a I need this, that. Like he just did a fucking sponsorship for like a corn farm. So like I just don't view him as like that dude that's like, well, I need to have the Sports Center logo read that I make 275 million. Like if he is that dude, I'd be shocked. But from like everything that we've seen from him, it doesn't seem like he's that guy. And if we just look back, like if he's serious, like being like, yeah, like I want to play 10 years here. I'm going to ball out. I'm going to do what I need to do. What's the best way to do that? And that's probably to continue to like that time. I think like looking at the Tom Brady Patriots model is the best way to do it.
I think realistically, I mean, I agree with you. He doesn't come across as a guy that's like, give me $300 million or I'm out of here. But it's also tough to sit here until you have $300 million being put in your face.
I do, but what's the difference between having $100 million and $150 million and $300 million? Like
That is
really
the ultimate. That is the ultimate question that we will continue to ask athletes until the day that we die, because we could sit here and look back at how many times in sports history where it's best for the player to take less money so that the team can be better, but that's not how it works.
It's usually not how it works, but it should. Bro,
Correct.
like I just think
But
that like
it should if you cared about winning, but not everybody wants that. Everybody wants, and I think Brock Purdy cares about winning, but
I do.
a lot of people want $300 million.
I just think I do, bro. I just think it's
They want
like
to
one
have
of those.
13 Lambos.
He just doesn't. He looks like he drives an Ultima. Like he still has.
He has a roommate.
He like, yeah. That's what I was about to say. He like legitimately like still has a roommate. So like you're telling me if that guy got $150 million payday, he wouldn't be like fucking like a pig in shit. Like he's gonna just be super fired up and like continue to just be like, okay, like let's go add a dog at wide receiver. Let's keep doing this. And I don't know. That's how I look at the Brock Purdy experience, honestly, at the end of the day, where it's like you're gonna make you're gonna make so much money. You were a 7th round pick, you were never supposed to be here, and now you're about to be the best.
That's certainly how it looks. It looks that way. And who knows? Maybe Brock Purdy's low key, like maybe the only reason that he lives this way is because he doesn't have that bread.
Well, he doesn't.
Because he's broke.
I mean, he's definitely hold on, let's look. I mean, he makes more money than us, but like
Yeah, no shit.
he's making, bro, His signing bonus was 77 grand.
All right, that's not great. What's his like contract now?
It's 4 years, $3.7 million. He'll make a little over $1 million this season. A little.
That's so insane.
I mean, good for him, dude.
It is good for him. Well, I don't got anything else for you.
I do, real quick. Everybody, first off, Caitlin Clark got drafted first overall. Good for that. Good for her. Everybody, the women. Listen, this is like a two-sided argument. I'm going to be playing kind of both sides a little bit, but the women have been saying for the last like 5 years, like we need equal pay, like blah blah blah, this that and the third, and then Caitlin Clark gets drafted, and then they see her salary, and then everybody on Twitter is like, "This is ridiculous that they get paid this much," like blah blah blah, and I was like, everybody that is saying that needs to send a formal apology to the women who have been saying this for like the last 5 years. I'm not saying it's right, because that's what they need to get. That's what they're getting paid, because that's how much the league makes, and that's what makes sense. But everybody now kind of like being like, they need to figure out a way to pay her more money, need to send a formal apology to the women who have been fighting for this for years.
Why don't, instead of sending a letter, they just go buy a ticket and watch a WNBA game?
They don't
That's
buy a
what I'm
jersey.
telling them to do.
Buy a
Yeah, that's what I'm telling them to do. Instead of writing an apology, just go buy a jersey or go buy a ticket to go watch her play. That's how she'll get more money.
But they won't. They literally won't watch one game. Everybody's sitting around like talking and saying all this stuff. They don't watch any games. I promise you. And
The
like,
best is when I see those TikToks of those guys going around like New York and Brooklyn, and they're like, "Can you name 3 WNBA players?" And literally everybody that this person asks is like, "No." And well,
yeah,
he
yeah.
starts it off with like, do you think they deserve equal pay?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, why?" And they always go, "Well, yeah, this." And then he's like, "Can you name any WNBA players?" And they're like, no." They're like, "Okay, well, that's like kind of like that's why they don't get paid as much as the NBA players do, because
Well,
nobody goes and watches them."
yeah, I think that, listen, that's not my argument. I know. I think we all know, if you have half of a brain, you should know. But with that being said, that is so sad that everybody has been saying, like, women have literally been saying this and getting shit on for like so long. And it's like, hey guys, like, they've been saying this forever. Like, I know that Caitlin Clark's the first one that you guys give a slight fuck about, but like, let's keep that same energy when they're playing during the season.
Caitlin Clark's going to be the one that's like breaking the barrier, is what it kind of seems like.
Yeah, it
Because this is
seems
the
that way.
first time that it seems like more than just a small group of people have been like, "Oh, holy shit, they get paid less than a systems analyst at Deloitte."
Yeah. I mean, I guess I think that there is an opportunity for her to break through, but I would like to just see what happens during this WNBA season and see if anything changes. Um, I I don't know. I don't think it will. I could be dead. I hope I'm wrong. Like, I love women. Like, they're great, and I want them to, like, I would love to, if the WNBA was successful. Like, good for them. Like, I'm happy for them. I'm not gonna like sit here and be a grouch about it, but I don't think that like it is going to like fully translate like what was going on in college. Like, I think is like slightly more exciting than what's going to be going on in the WNBA.
I mean, yeah, I think
And
that's probably right.
I didn't even watch the college games, honestly.
Like that college game between LSU and Iowa got like the most views of all time.
And I didn't, hey, listen, I'm saying I didn't watch the college game. I didn't watch the men's college games either. So
I did.
it's not like I'm sitting here saying like, oh, like either side, like the men's was so much better. Like, I didn't like the men's games either. So
I think if as long as like there is a step in the right direction of more people watching women's basketball for the sake of women's basketball, like that will you got to start somewhere, right? Like you're not just going to get one player unless she's like fucking 360 dunking. You're not going to get one player that is going to like jump the viewership from here all the way up to here right away.
No.
But if you start getting to the point where there's more Caitlin Clarks and better, better, and better and better, then you're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so. I just think it's hard. I think it's going to be extremely hard to grow that game. Just the same way as it's really hard for hockey to grow. In hockey is a global sport. Just like there's a lot of sports where it seems like they get into a stage where they're stuck. That's completely fine. Like nobody sits around and complains about how much the 12th guy on the bench of a hockey team makes. They're just like, you play a professional sport for a living, you live the life.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So that's it. That's all I have.
That's all I got for you.
I'll edit down this part where I got literally shook as hell.
All right.
All right, see you, brother.
Go Birds.